Hey, I'm Chase from Sorcery Contested Realm, and I'm here with Jeremy Chien from the Beasts of the Bay. Jeremy, thanks so much for coming on to talk with us.
Hey, thanks for having me here, Chase. I'm really excited to just hang out with you, chat a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, we always enjoy connecting with people in the community, and there's a good chance if people have been to some of our events that they've seen you there, or maybe even footage from you at SorceryCon this past year. Now, you're involved with a group called Beasts of the Bay. First off, before we jump into some sorcery stuff, what is Beasts of the Bay?
So, Beast of the Bay is basically an old school magic club. We have started originally just gathering together, playing games, right? Playing old school. And over time, now we're just friends, right? Friends that hang out. We discovered sorcery during the Kickstarter. And so not only do we now play sorcery, but we also, plan events for the community and other things that we think are fun.
Yeah, and I feel like I remember when I first met you, we had an interesting exchange, and you said that old school TCG groups and sorcery are kind of like chicken and waffles. What did you mean by that? Do you remember that back then? That stuck with me.
I
And this is
do.
like we're talking a year ago or so.
First of all, I love food, so it makes sense that I made that analogy together. But I do think that chicken and waffles sometimes, if you ever had it, initially you think, wait, do these things really go together? And it's just like some great pairings in life. Sorcery, a new game, modern, if you will, old school, obviously hitting on the nostalgia, things from our childhood. And sorcery does blend all of that, right? And together you kind of have a true connective tissue between the way that the hand drawn art comes, the way that the gameplay or the cards are templated, right? It really brings you back and makes you feel like you're in those old school days, trying to discover how these cards work for the first time and just playing with your friends.
I guess the question is for those who might have biases about these sorts of food: is sorcery the chicken or the waffle in this scenario? But you don't need to answer.
That's a hard one.
But
That's a hard one. I'll let
that's
people decide.
and I think one of the things that we really enjoy about your group and other groups like yours, I mean, you just actually had an event this past weekend, but you really I think what really we're trying to build in the sorcery community, in a lot of ways, you already embody or help strengthen in the sorcery community. Can you talk a little about this event you had this past weekend, the Quest for the Crown?
Sure.
Crowns, right?
Yeah, Quest for the Crown. It's a full weekend event. So imagine you're going to a summer camp, right? But this is an adult version of said summer camp. We rented a very large space where everybody just stays at, and we did events throughout the weekend, progressively earning points. We had a special format called the Curious Limited event, right, where we made up some, specific avatars for the weekend, and people would open pretend packs, that we used from our bulk, and they would build up cards and trade. And again, this is kind of simulating, maybe when you were in middle school and you were opening TCGs for the first time, and you're like, I don't know what this does, but this looks really cool. And my friend has a card over there, and I don't know if it's good, but I want it because it has a huge beast on it, right? So gathering the people together is something that we love to do in old school. Winning a game is always fun, right? That's the purpose of games, right? But gathering the people always lend to a better time, right? That environment. And so during this Quest for the Crown, when you have 4 days and 3 nights, you have that duration of time to build those memories, to really allow people to get to know one another, to do a bunch of different things, to eat a bunch of really, really good food, right? Which is important. Food and drink, you can share so many good memories over food and drink and slinging some cardboard, right? And you mentioned the charity aspect. So, we find ourselves, as adults to be in this great position, to be blessed, to be able to play games, right? To be able to spend our time and do this as a hobby. And so part of that ethos is to say, well, when we do these things, we should definitely give back, right? And so a portion of everything that we're doing throughout the weekend is raising money for charity. We auctioned off a few of the paintings that were made from the artists that were supporting our event. We had another mini game, Plinko, where you could drop a chip and then you could maybe win an alpha pack or win a token or win some stickers. But obviously, you were paying a decent amount of money to drop that chip,
Right.
but all that money's going to charity, right?
Yeah.
And it was a really good time. And I think at the end of it, with corporate match, we've actually raised over $20,000 this weekend for charities.
Whoa. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Talk about like the perfect combination of an opportunity to like do good and feel good. Like that's the best. We get to play some games. Oh, fantastic. And I think one of the things that maybe you're best known for is also the support that you've put behind this community-made format that Beast of the Bay champions called Two-Headed Dragon.
Yeah.
One of the things we love about Sorcery is seeing the community have fun and champion other ways of playing, right? Like, how do you play Sorcery? And the real answer is like the correct way to play Sorcery is the way you're having fun. For Two-Headed Dragon, for those that maybe are just getting to Sorcery, that are looking for a game mode that's like super pro-social and really fun, that's completely community generated, what is Two-Headed Dragon? And then what's the appeal that you think it has and why it's catching on so fast with so many of our players?
No, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I personally am a big fan of multiplayer. One-on-one is great, but sometimes, after X number of games of one-on-one, you kind of feel like it's always me versus the other guy, right? So Two-Headed Dragon is an opportunity to bring in a multiplayer format where it's 2v2. And so you get a little less politics than if it was like a free-for-all situation.
Which becomes like 3v1 sometimes, where it's like,
yes,
wait a second.
exactly. Somebody has to get killed first, right? So,
Yeah.
so you avoid a little bit of that with Two-Headed Dragon. So we did play a bunch of 2HD over this weekend, and yeah, the basic premise of 2HD is that it's 2v2 on a larger grid format. It follows almost all the basic rules of Sorcery, and you have a little bit more life, but then it's a little bit tweaked so that you have to synergize with your partner dragon to then defeat your opponents, the other two dragon heads, right? It's really fun, and I think people really like it because there's this social aspect. There's this, I'm gonna show you my cards and say, hey, what do you think we should do next? And they'll say, oh, well, I have this, and you're like, oh, those two things go together, right? And you discover combos that you never thought were possible in a normal 1v1 game. You see interactions, and you can play cards that maybe aren't at the cutting edge of competitiveness, but are just really fun with such a huge grid. So, there's definitely a great appeal there. And definitely also when somebody's trying to learn and you're trying to bring people into the game, it can be really easy to say, hey, why don't I partner up with you and I can kind of almost teach you while we play. And then that's been very successful for us.
So I know you've sent me a mat actually. So I played quite a bit of Two-Headed Dragon, but also most recently at Gen Con, going to the play area in between rounds. And I was like, oh, you know what? I've got a few minutes here. And someone was like, hey, do you want to play Two-Headed Dragon? And I was like, yeah, but it's just the two of us. Well, we grabbed two other people. Next thing we're playing a game and, you just met three new people. We made made new friends. And I'm like, talk about like such an amazing, like pro-social way to play games. And what a great way for events to like maybe kick off an event as like kind of like a mixer almost, or a way to, just to kind of get people to know each other in the, over a weekend event, like the first event to a Two-Headed Dragon or really at any point. But man, those social elements that really, really, really resonated with me. And this is so much fun.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to hear that, right? I mean, because, the way we designed it is you can literally just take whatever deck you have, and actually maybe even if that's the best way to play, right? Where you don't necessarily plan ahead of time with your partner and it's a random person, and you just sit down and you just play and see what happens, right?
Yeah.
We have also, put out a variant for people who kind of want to run tournaments with it, to have like a unified format where you do build two decks together with a partner and you follow the same rules of rarity and whatnot within those two decks. And that's pretty fun too, right? So there's a lot of variation. Like you said, community, grown formats, the people will really take it where they go. But we're just very happy that people enjoy it. and we're very happy that we can kind of support. And what's actually been really nice is we haven't actually needed to even tweak the rules that much, right? Like, which I know is very important as well. People want to be able to play sorcery, and then when they switch over to two-headed dragon, they just want to be able to play. They don't want to have to learn a whole nother new, somewhat separate game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, for people watching, if you've ever had that time where you're playing sorcery, obviously, we have our rule set, et cetera, but it's always cool to see people taking their own spin on things. And we want to encourage people to try new ways of exploring the game. And, we don't want to be super rigid, right? The way you play sorcery is the way you're having fun, right? And, events like you're running and modes like you've helped foster in the community, that really leans into the fun and play. Now, we love to see stuff like that. So we hope if you're watching, if you haven't tried some of the community formats like Two-Headed Dragon, oh my gosh, try them out. They're a hoot and a holler. You're going to have a lot of fun. I know there's also a 4-player mode that David Floating Skull has championed as well. A lot of fun ways to play. But it's exciting to hear, get to talk to you, who's so closely tied to Two-Headed Dragon and the Beast of the Bay, who you often will see at events championing this game mode, having the mats out there, getting people involved, encouraging people to come over and try it out. And, I really wanted to get a chance to talk to you and essentially say thank you, because I know you put in a lot of work to champion sorcery as well. And I think when you're talking about the events you just run and the community that you've locally cultivated and helped support, that speaks so much to what is so important about sorcery, right? It's like the game's amazing. I know we work for the company. Yes, the game's amazing. Sorcery's amazing, everybody. And a big part of what makes sorcery amazing is the community side, right? That's the other side of the coin. And we need exemplars. We need people that are out there helping champion what sorcery is and what, our community is all about, especially as new players are coming and joining in, right? We want them to acclimate to being it's a pretty chill environment. And we want to have a good time and try things in. And the biggest thing is having fun and welcoming people over. And, like I said, thank you so much for all the work you've done and for your support in building out of this community game mode that people are really enjoying.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for the kind words. I mean, this community does make it very easy, right? All the people that we meet and we play with and, organize events for, they're such great people, right? And that is another piece of connected tissue that's similar to old school. You just meet such good people who are very generous, whether that's with their time or their resources. It's just fun to hang out. And I think sorcery is building up that same type of spirit with the type of people that it's attracting to the game.
And then I can't let you go without asking one more quick question about your event this past weekend. I saw some photos. It looked like so much fun. What was going on with the artists? You had some artists there and you were doing some fun things again. What was going on with that?
So shout out to one of our beasts, Neil. He did a lot of work with the artists, and we ended up with 3 artists at this Quest for the Crown. Marta Molina, all the way from Spain, Sam McKinnon from Canada, and then Drew Tucker from Maine, right? So we had all these guys fly in, and they were there to work, but at the same time, they were there just to hang out, right? So both Sam and Marta actually made some original art for the weekend, if you will, right? Like they were the ones that painted the avatars that we used for that Curious event. And then Drew, Drew is classic, right? We know Drew from our old school stuff. And so Drew was just floating around, hanging out with people and signing cards and doing that thing. But the one special thing,
any day you get to hang out with Drew Tucker is a good day. So that sounds like an amazing event.
Definitely. There was a story time session with Drew that I think will be posted as an article pretty soon. And that was a great late night talk where Drew would just tell us about the beginnings of games and how he got into art. But the really unique thing that Sam helped us do during this event that we've done at other old school events was he led a painting class. And so what he did was Sherwood Huntress, which is one of his great pieces. We had it set up so everybody had a little painting kit, a little small canvas, and we cameraed Sam to be able to guide everybody through a 3-4 hour painting class, and by the end everybody was able to come away with their own hand painted, self-painted Sherwood Huntress. So people
That's
really
next
had
level.
a good time.
I feel like I'm always impressed Our community just does like the coolest events ever. That is amazing. What a
Yeah.
fun event.
And the neat part, again, tying in back into the charity, one of the ways we raised so much money was the painting that Sam did live, which he then touched up throughout the rest of the weekend.
Mhm.
We auctioned that at the end of the event. 50% to Sam for his great effort, and then 50% to charity. So it was a win-win all around. He had such a great time. He was very generous to us. Same with Marta, who again traveled
Yeah.
all the way from Spain. They all just did a great job in supporting what we were trying to do.
That's amazing. Well, you're always out there doing good work, and this past event was no exception. Where are people going to see you next? Maybe at a sorcery event or something you're hosting? And where can people find out more about the Beasts of the Bay?
Well, we have a website. You guys can just Google search that, right?
Put it in the
It has
description as
on
well,
there.
in the links
Oh,
below.
okay. They'll have the two-headed dragon rules on there. We plan on supporting, sorcery at the upcoming SCG cons, and we'll just be floating around, and maybe you guys will see a two-headed dragon game or so that people are playing and jumping into, and then we're at anytime anybody's out in the Bay Area in California, let us know, and we do bi-weekly meetups, right? We'd love to meet more people. We'd love to even plan a meetup around when you're visiting. That's definitely something people love gathering and doing.
Yeah, I guess an excuse to get together and play cards with people is always it's always welcome.
Always. Yep. We'll jump right at it.
Well, and if you're out there watching this, be sure to check out Beasts of the Bay and all the cool stuff they're doing for the community. If you're also running cool community events, let us know what you're doing down in the descriptions below. And if you've been experimenting with your own cool formats, we always love to see that too. Feel free to share that in our sorcery spaces on Discord and our Facebook group. And in the meantime, thanks for tuning in, everybody, and best of luck contesting the realm.